Hello and welcome to today's edition of the Daf 35 Ahmad A and in Chullin, and it's the Steinsaltz Edition. And welcome from my home. So I'll just finish off the line from the previous Daf. Allah said to him, "Leave the matter of stew that is a mixture containing spice of teruma, as there is not an olive bulk of teruma in the amount of stew that he eats in the time that it takes to eat half a loaf of bread." Now, what does this mean? The Leica Kazayas Bechui Achias Paras. Just as the measure that defines the act of eating in most parts of mitzvah and prohibition is an olive bulk, a kazayas, so too the measure of liability for taking of teruma while in state of impurity is an olive bulk. There is an Amorite dispute with regard to whether one who eats the olive bulk violates the prohibition. Less than the olive bulk. Eating that is prohibited by Torah is also dependent upon the duration of that eating. The sages derive this duration from the halacha of one who stays in a leprous house, in which the interval that causes one to become impure is equivalent to the time that it takes to eat half a loaf of bread. Therefore, one who eats any mixture containing less than a bulk of forbidden item during that amount of time violates no Torah prohibition. Therefore, one need not treat the mixture with the level of purity required of turum. Rabbi Yonatan says that Rabbi Yehuda Nasi says, for one who partakes of actual turum that is impure with third-degree impurity, it is prohibited for one who partook of turum that was impure with third-degree impurity to partake of turum until he immerses it in a ritual bath. Nevertheless, it's permitted for him to touch turum, and the turum remains pure, as it says, institutes the highest standard with regard to eating it, but not with regard to touching it, according to the opinion of Rabbi Yochanan. Excuse me, that's in the Rambam Sefer Tahora, Yochasha Avatumat 11:11. Prohibited to partake of other turuma, but it's permitted to come into contact with turuma. The Gemara notes that the statement of Ula was necessary. Excuse me, and the statement of Rabbi Yonatan was necessary. Now, this halacha were learned exclusively. The statement of Ula, I would say. This statement applies with regard to non-sacred food items that are prepared on the level of purity of teruma, but with regard to teruma itself, perhaps contact is also prohibited. What does this mean? Haba amina ava teruma bin nami aso. Although one impure with third-degree impurity does not render teruma impure with fourth-degree impurity, one might think that the prohibit his coming into contact with teruma due to the concern that he may come to eat it, as one who is impure with impurities is qualified from partaking of teruma Tosfot. Therefore, the statement of Rabbi Yonatan was necessary. And then the halacha was learned exclusively from the statement of Rabbi Yonatan. And I would say this statement applies with regard to teruma, but with regard to non-sacred food that was prepared with purity of teruma, perhaps eating it is also permitted. Therefore, both statements are necessary. Rabbi Yitzchak bar Shmuel bar Marta was sitting before Rav Naaman, and he was sitting saying, with regard to one who eats non-sacred food items that were prepared on the level of purity of sacrificial food, and these items had become impure through the impurity. One who eats non-sacred food items that were prepared on the level of purity of sacrificial food, and those items become impure third-degree impurity, with third-degree impurity remains pure. This is because only consecrated sacrificial food renders other sacrificial food impure with fourth-degree impurity, according to the statement of Rabbi Yitzchak bar Shmuel bar Marta, and according to the explanation of the Rashba. Rambam Sefer Tahora Hilchot Avatumat 11:12, and Sikkinas of Mishnah there. He is richly pure in terms of the right to partake of sacrificial foods, as you have nothing that confers with impurity in sacrificial food other than consecrated food alone. But non-sacred food prepared with the purity of sacrificial food does not. Rami Bahama raised an objection from the Mishnah cited earlier in 33b. One who eats food with third-degree impurity assumes second-degree impurity via sacrificial food, and he does not assume second-degree impurity vis-a-vis teruma. Eating an item with third-degree impurity is feasible only in the case of non-sacred items. Yes, but taking of impure teruma is prohibited. It is only possible in the case of non-sacred food items that are prepared as if the level of purity on the same level of purity of teruma. According to the statement of Yitzchak bar Shmuel bar Marta, why does this food assume secondary impurity? It is not sacrificial food which is sanctified. Rabbi Yitzchak bar Shmuel bar Marta said to him, leave to him alone, as its statement of purity is impurity vis-a-vis sacrificial food. So what does this mean? By contrast, with regard to non-sacred food prepared on the level of purity of sacrificial food, there was no reason for the to issue a decree as Totzfah. Therefore, non-sacred food that was prepared with purity renders sacrificial food impure. The glass. Why do you say that the purity of teruma is impurity vis-a-vis sacrificial food? It is from a Mishnah in Hagiga 18b, as we learned the halachic status of the garments of an Am Ha'aretz. Big Day Am Ha'aretz v'chul. The sages instituted 5 statuses of ritual purity with regard to clothing. 1. The halachic state of garments of an Am Ha'aretz is like that of garments rendered impure by treading of a zav vis-a-vis those who eat non-sacred produce in purity. 2. The halachic state of the garments of those who eat non-sacred produce in a state of purity is like that of garments rendered impure by treading of a zav vis-a-vis those who partake of second type produce. But those who eat the non-sacred produce are considered pure vis-a-vis teruma. 3. The halachic state of the garments of those who partake of the second type produce is like that of garments rendered impure by treading of the zav vis-a-vis those who partake of teruma. 4. The halachic state of the garments of those who partake of teruma is like that of garments rendered impure by treading of the zav vis-a-vis those who partake of sacrificial food. Those who partake of teruma are richly impure vis-a-vis sacrificial food. 5. The halachic state of the garments of those who partake of sacrificial food is like that of garments impure by training of a zav vis-a-vis the purification water of the red heifer, but those who partake of sacrificial food are pure vis-a-vis the purification water of the red heifer. And then the Rambam Sefer Tahara Hilchot Aratuma 13:1. Who does not scrupulously observe the halacha of ritual purity is like that of items rendered impure by treading. What does this mean? Chumas midrash. This is a form of ritual impurity imparted by a zava, a woman after childbirth, and a menstruating woman. The individuals render richly impure items on which they stand, sit, lie, or lean. Typically, a primary source of ritual impurity renders an item which comes to contact impure with first-degree impurity. In this case, the zav renders the items primary sources of which impurity is. Halacha applies only with regard to vessel that doesn't sitting or lying. In contrast, other items on which the zav stands or sits, it assumes first-degree impurity, rich impurity. Indeed, the item designated for sitting or lying, upon which a zav or a menstruating woman sits or lies, which are rendered a primary source of ritual impurity for individuals who scrupulously observe the halacha of ritual impurity perushin, and either non-sacred food nor sacred purity. In other words, it is considered a primary level of impurity for them. The halachic status of the garments of perushin is like that of items rendered impure by treading for priests who partake of teruma. It is the halachic status of the garments of priests who partake of teruma is like that of items rendered impure by treading for those who eat sacrificial food. Rava said, are you saying that one can cite proof from the halacha of items rendered impure by treading of the state of purity of teruma is impurity vis-a-vis sacrificial food? No proof can be cited from there, as the decree of the halacha states of garments of priests who partake of teruma is like that of items rendered impure by treading for those who eat sacrificial food is different. As with regard to items, there is concern lest his wife sit upon them when she is impure with the impurity of a menstruating woman. But with regard to produce, we do not say that if it was prepared with the purity of teruma, it renders sacrificial food impure. And Rabbi Yitzchak states his halacha with regard to produce as well. Rabbi Yirmi of Difti raises objection to the opinion of Rabbi Yitzchak. And do we say with regard to produce that if it were prepared with the purity of teruma, it renders sacrificial food impure? Then we learn in the Mishnah 24b, it is not permitted for a priest to accept teruma wine for an amaretz, from an amaretz. But if the Amor says to the priest, I separate it and place it into this barrel of teruma wine, a quarter log of sacrificial wine, he's incredible. Ne'emon. If an Amor brings a barrel of teruma to a priest at any time during the year and states, I separate the sacrificial food and place it in this barrel, even if it's only a quarter log of sacrificial food, since he's deemed credible with regard to the purity of sacrificial food, he's deemed credible with regard to the purity of Teruma as well. And this is according to the mission in Chagiga 24b and the explanation of the Gemara in Rambam Sefer Tahara, Hilchot Matame Michtav Moshe 11:4. And this indicates that Teruma does not render the sacrificial food impure. And if you say with regard to Teruma that its state of purity is impurity vis-a-vis sacrificial food, that the Teruma renders the sacrificial food impure. Rabbi Yitzchak said to Rabbi Yirmi of Tifti, are you saying that there is an objection to my opinion based on the case of impurity in the case of food items? The teruma wine and the sacrificial wine are attached to one barrel. Pure in the case of food items that are attached is different, as since Amos is deemed credible with regard to sacrificial food, incredible with regard to teruma as well. Rav Huna bar Natan raised objections from abide to the opinion by Yitzchak with regard to rendering sacrificial food impure with fourth degree rich impurity. Non-sacred food that is impure with second degree impurity renders impure through contact with a non-sacred liquid, which is first degree impurity and disqualifies teruma foods. Non-sacred food that is impure with second degree impurity disqualifies teruma produce, rendering it impure with third degree impurity. If it touches non-sacred liquids, it renders them impure with first degree impurity. And say for the Hora Hilchot Shai of a Tumat 11:7, in the sense that those foods are impure but do not transmit impurity to the food, a non-sacred food that is impure with third degree impurity renders impure through contact. A sacrificial liquid disqualifies sacrificial foods. In the case of non-sacred food that were prepared on the level of purity of sacrificial food. In the case of non-sacred food that was prepared on the level of purity of sacrificial food, if it comes in contact with the degree of impurity, it remains pure, like other non-sacred food, in accordance with the opinion of the first Tanya of the Baita. That's from the Rambam Sefer, the Hora Hilchot Shai about 12:16, and arrived there. In the sense that those foods are impure but do not transmit impurity to the food, a non-sacred food that is impure with third degree impurity renders impure through contact. A sacrificial liquid and disqualifies sacrificial food. In the case of non-sacred food items that are prepared on the level of purity of sacrificial food. This contradicts the opinion of Rabbi Yitzchak, who said that there is nothing that confers fourth degree impurity in sacrificial food other than consecrated sacrificial food alone, but not non-sacred food prepared with the purity of sacrificial food. The Gemara answers that this matter is a dispute between Tanaim. Tanahi, there are three opinions regarding non-sacred food that is prepared on the level of purity of sacrificial food that is impure with third degree rich impurity. The Brisa cited by Rav Huna bar Natan states it assumes third degree impurity and renders sacrificial food impure with fourth degree impurity. Rabbi Elazar, son of Rabbi Sadak, holds that it is disqualified, meaning it is impure but does not render sacrificial food impure. Finally, the first Tanya disagrees with Rabbi Elazar, son of Rabbi Sadak, hold that non-sacred food that is prepared on the level of purity of sacrificial food does not assume third degree impurity at all. According to Rashi, Rabbi Yitzchak holds with the opinion of Rabbi Elazar, son of Rabbi Sadak. According to the Ramban, who says that according to Rabbi Sadak, non-sacred food that was prepared on the level of purity of sacrificial food does not assume third degree impurity at all. Rabbi Yitzchak holds in accordance with the opinion of the first Tana of the Baita. That is the ruling of the Rambam Tzidkes of Mishnah. As is told in the Baita, Lacha states of non-sacred food items that are prepared on the level of purity of sacrificial food is like that of non-sacred foods, and they are incapable of assuming third degree impurity. Rabbi Elazar, son of Rabbi Sadak, says the halachic status of non-sacred food items that were prepared on the level of purity of sacrificial food is like that of teruma. Accordingly, a primary source of which impurity is able to render two items impure. The food item with which it comes into contact assumes first degree impurity, and the food item with that comes into contact assumes second degree impurity. And that item is able to disqualify one further item, assumes third degree impurity, but will not render sacrificial food impure with fourth degree impurity. According to both opinions in this Baita, non-sacred food prepared with the purity of sacrificial food does not disqualify sacrificial food. According to the Mishnah in Taharat, it does disqualify sacrificial food. The Mishnah states in 33a, in the case of one who slaughters a domesticated animal, an undomesticated animal, or bird, and the blood did not emerge from them, which says they were rendered susceptible to its impurity by means of the slaughter itself. Rabbi Asi says that Rabbi Shimon would say, it slaughter that renders it susceptible to its impurity, and not the blood that emerges during the slaughter. The Gemara suggests, let us say that the Mishnah supports the opinion of Rabbi. Rabbi Shimon says they were rendered susceptible to its impurity by means of the slaughter itself. The Gemara asks, what is it not that Rabbi Shimon is saying? By means of the slaughter, and not by means of the blood from the slaughter. The Gemara answers, no, perhaps Rabbi Shimon is saying the animal can be rendered susceptible to its impurity by means of blood and also by means of slaughter. The Gemara suggests. Coming here by in support of Ravasi's statement, Rabbi Shimon said to the rabbis, it is blood that renders, isn't the blood that renders the animal susceptible to impurity, but it is slaughter that renders it susceptible. It's indicated that Rabbi Shimon holds that it is specifically the slaughter and not the blood that renders its flesh susceptible to impurity. The Gemara rejects this proof. This is what Rabbi Shimon is saying to the rabbis. Is it blood alone that renders the animal susceptible to impurity? Slaughter too renders it susceptible. The Gemara suggests, common here by contrary to Rav Asi's statement, Rabbi Shimon says blood of the animal that is dead, Dam HaMeis, Rashi and Rabbeinu Gershom or Hagola explain that this refers to blood of an animal that died by itself. Likewise, the terms blood of those that are killed and blood of its wound tends to be referred to an animal, as the Gemara is discussing the stages of the blood of an animal that was slaughtered. But Rabbeinu Tam explains the terms blood of the dead, blood of those that are killed, and blood of its wound, all refer to the blood of a person, to the Ramban and Rashba. Of natural causes does not render food items susceptible to its impurity. What is it not that one may infer the blood of slaughter renders food items susceptible to its impurity? Blood is one of the liquids that renders food susceptible to impurity. The blood referred to here is the blood that emerges from a kosher animal or bird as it's been slaughtered, according to the opinion of the rabbis who disagree with Rabbi Shimon. From Sefer the Hora Helchet Tumat Ochlim 10:3. The Gemara rejects this proof. No, infer that blood of animals that are killed rendered food items susceptible to its impurity. The Gemara asks, with regard to blood of slaughter, what then, is the halacha that it does not render food items susceptible to ritual impurity. So that Rabbi Shimon teaches that blood of slaughter does not render the animal susceptible to impurity, and we will conclude that all the more so is the halacha with regard to blood of the animal that is dead as a result of natural causes. The Gemara answers, it is necessary for Rabbi Shimon to teach halacha of the blood of the animal that is dead as a result of natural causes, as it could enter your mind to say, what difference is it to me if one killed the animal himself, and what difference is it to me if the animal is killed by the angel of death? In both cases, the blood should render the animal susceptible to impurity. Therefore, Rabbi Shimon teaches that unlike blood of the animal that was killed, blood of an animal that is dead as a result of natural causes does not render food items susceptible to impurity. And no inference may be drawn with regard to the blood of slaughter. The Gemara suggests. Coming here another bite, contrary to Rabbi Asi's statement. Rabbi Shimon says, blood of the wound of an animal does not render other items susceptible to impurity. What is it not that one may infer from that blood of slaughter renders food items susceptible to impurity? The Gemara rejects this proof. No, infer that blood of animals that are killed renders food items susceptible to impurity. But with regard to blood of slaughter, was halacha that it does not render food items susceptible to impurity. If so, let Rabbi Shimon teach us that blood of slaughter does not render the animal susceptible to impurity. And will we conclude that all the more so that this is the halacha with regard to blood of its wound? The Gemara answers, it was necessary for Rabbi Shimon to teach blood of its wound, as it could enter your mind to say, what difference is there to me if one killed the entire animal? And what difference is there to me if one killed half the animal? I wounded it. In both cases, the blood should render the animal susceptible to impurity. Therefore, Rabbi Shimon teaches that unlike the blood of an animal that was killed, the blood from an animal's wound does not render food items susceptible to impurity, and no inference may be drawn with regard to blood of slaughter. The Gemara asks, what is different with regard to blood of animals that are killed that they render food items susceptible to impurity? It is due to the fact that it is written, behold, they are a people that rises up as a lioness. And as a lion lifts himself up, he shall not lie down until he eats of the prey and drinks the blood of carcasses. Numbers 23:24. The fact that the blood of a carcass, which in the context of the verse is referring to an animal that was killed, in the mention of context of drinking, indicates that it is a liquid that renders food items susceptible to impurity. With regard to blood of slaughter, it's also written, only you shall not eat the blood, you shall pour it upon the earth as water in Deuteronomy 12:16. The parallel to water essentially indicates that the blood of slaughter should also render food items susceptible to its impurity. The Gemara answers, that verse is not literal with regards to susceptibility to impurity. The purpose for which it comes is to permit benefit from the blood of disqualified consecrated animals. And that reaches the end of the daf. I wish you a very good day and a very good week, and peace to all Israel. Take care.